Okay, so we're going to talk to you guys about the grassland biome. So to start off, I'm just going to define grassland, and it's basically just a large open area of grass. And as you can see, that's what is pictured here. Okay, next we're going to talk about climate. So there's two main types of grasslands. There's temperate and tropical. Temperate is pictured on the upper corner, and then tropical is on the lower. So temperate grasslands have hot summers and cold winters. The summer temperatures can be well over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, while winters can be as low as negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit. And they typically have between 10 to 35 inches of precipitation a year, and much of that occurs in late spring or in early summer. Snow often serves as a reservoir of moisture at the beginning of growing season, and seasonal drought and occasional fires help maintain the grasslands. And next is the tropical grasslands, which are found in tropical wet and dry climates. The areas are hot year-round, and they usually never drop under 64 degrees Fahrenheit. Although these areas are overall very dry, they have a heavy raining season, and annual rainfall is about 20 to 50 inches per year. And the rainfall is crucial to the grassland because it is concentrated in 6 or 8 months of the year, followed by a long drought when fires can occur. So this graph on the upper right-hand corner shows the inches of rainfall in the grassland compared to all the other biomes. So that, like, the average between temperate and tropical is about 30 inches per year. And on the bottom left-hand corner is the temperature in Fahrenheit, and that's the average between the two.
Okay, so most of the animals in grasslands are herbivores, burrowing animals, and their predators. Since there are so many herbivores, each species has their own specialized niche. For example, elephants would eat short grass and zebras would eat tall grasses. And insects are abundant in grasslands. The 4 subcategories of grasslands are prairies, pampas, steppes, and savannas. Grass is a natural dominant vegetation of grasslands. In temperate grasslands, the characteristics are rolling plains and hills. There are taller grasses in the wetter areas, such as prairies in the upper left corner, and then shorter grasses in the drier areas, such as steppes in the lower right-hand corner. Tropical grasslands have trees diffused across savannas, and these trees have thorns to defend themselves against herbivores from eating the plants. So the soil of temperate grasslands is nicknamed the breadbasket because we grow most of our food in this soil. The soil is deep and dark, and it is the most fertile soil of all the biomes. Tropical grasslands have soil that is very porous and has rapid drainage of water. Grasslands are located between deserts and forests. The U.S. Midwest contains the prairies. Pampas are located in South America. Steppes are located in Central Eurasia, and then savannas they take up about half the continent of Africa. Grasslands are typically found where there is not enough regular rain to support the growth of a rainforest, and they are located on every continent except Antarctica.
So human-caused environmental threats and problems have caused, for instance, the Great Plains in the United States to diminish to only 5% of their original what they were. One of the big problems is climate change, and climate change is a result of global warming. And with climate change comes the change in rainfall patterns, which causes desertification, which basically saps the nutrients all out of the soil, and plants and animals end up dying. Row cropping takes land that is either used for living for humans or just animals and plants living. And row cropping basically, instead of regular cropping, it takes up a lot more land and saps the nutrients more so than regular cropping, to the point where the land can't be used after the crops are grown. Urban expansion is self-explanatory, really. With overpopulation or population increasing, humans have to look for new areas to live, and with living and colonizing in the in the grasslands, they just take up the space and kick the animals and plants out of their area. Crop expansion, with farming techniques, farmers usually with their crops make their plants a lot more hardier to drought and certain chemicals, so where they don't really die. And when they expand into grasslands outside of their original area, they kind of take over the natural grass that was there, and they don't die off, so it kind of messes up with the whole system there. And ways to solve these problems: education, that's probably one of the most important ones. If you can get the people that live in these grasslands, especially in the Midwest, and those farmers to know what the techniques are to prevent the destruction of grasslands, then all these other problems will hopefully go away. Wetlands are a big part of the solution to help protect grasslands, because wetlands filter toxic chemicals and phosphorus and nitrogen that go into grasslands, and they also help contain flood effects from floods. Crop rotation. So with crop rotation, instead of keeping your crops in one area and having to move to other areas, which would move into grasslands, if farmers, for instance, would say, let's say they're growing wheat, corn, and soy, whatever, in one area, if they rotate their crops to where the wheat would be grown, where the soy is, and vice versa, they don't use up the soil as much, and they can therefore extend the time in which they can grow there. Windbreakers basically contain the expansion of farmers' crops, so with dry season burning, since grass grows from the bottom to the top, when you burn the older grass, it returns calcium to the soil and makes it more fertile, and the grass doesn't die off, and it just kind of helps for a healthier, fresher grow of the land. And those are the solutions to the problem.
Okay, so we're going to teach you guys about tundra, and I'm going to be covering the climate, and I have a short little animation to go with it. So the tundra is it's the coldest of the biomes, and it's the coldest, harshest, and it's covered with treeless regions. The average temperature, there's two types of tundras. There's alpine and Arctic, but they mostly have the same, I'm going to pause this, same weather characteristics. It has generally a very long winter and a short summer. Those are the only two seasons that are recognized. The average temperature is -18 degrees, and in the summer, it only lasts 50 to 60 days, but it can get up to 12 degrees Fahrenheit. And as for rainfall goes, it's low rainfall. Oh, and during the summer, there's some vegetation that sprouts, so little shrubbery. And then for temperature and precipitation, I want to zoom in a little bit. It doesn't, during the summer it gets to 12 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's sort of how it is. And then, and it only lasts 50 to 60 days. And for winter, I'm going to pause. And then during the summer, it's also 24 hours of straight sunlight. That's why it's called land of the midnight sun. And precipitation, just like the desert, it's only, why is it showing that? 10 inches per year.
Because you were zoomed in.
So I zoomed out, so now you can see this part. And yeah. As I said earlier, there are two types of tundras, alpine and Arctic. And for Arctic animals and characteristics, the soil is formed slowly, and a layer of permanently frozen subsoil called permafrost exists. consisting mostly of gravel and finer material. When water saturates the upper surface, bogs and ponds may form, providing moisture for plants. There are no deep root systems in the vegetation of the Arctic tundra. However, there are still a wide variety of plants that are able to resist the cold climate, such as low shrubs, sedges, reindeer mosses, liverworts, and grasses. There are 400 varieties of flowers, including crustose and foliose lichen. As for herbivorous mammals, there are lemmings, voles, caribou, Arctic hares, and squirrels. Carnivorous mammals, there are Arctic foxes, wolves, and polar bears. Migratory birds, there are ravens, snow buntings, falcons, loons, stuff like that. So for alpine, the alpine tundra is located on mountains throughout the world at high altitude where trees cannot grow. The growing season is approximately 180 days, and the nighttime temperature is usually below freezing. Unlike the Arctic tundra, the soil in the alpine is well drained. The plants are very similar to those of the Arctic ones and include tussock grasses, dwarf trees, and for mammals, pikas and marmots, and birds like grouse. And for soil, the vegetation in the alpine and tundra biomes is rather limited. This limitation is caused by the poor quality of the soil of these areas. In the tundra is very low in nutrients and minerals, except for when the soil can obtain nutrients from animal droppings. The soil also becomes frozen in short waves below the ground due to extremely low temperatures of the tundra.
Pause. So geographically, tundras are mostly located in the northern part of the world, which includes basically the poles. And the reason why they're located in the poles is because less sun is radiated. And some areas would be like the upper part of Russia and the northern part of Canada and Alaska as well, and including Iceland, which is right kind of next to Canada. And yeah. And that is an example of a tundra, as you can see.
Pause. Okay, so there's three main environmental impacts: global warming and ozone depletion, which is like done by us, direct human interaction, and species. So for global warming, the more pollution we produce, it depletes the ozone, which makes more UV rays, and it melts the snow, which is detrimental to like the animals and habitats. And then direct human interaction, there's a lot of oil in lands like this. So in order for them to drill the oil, they have to make roads, which melt the permafrost. And while they're drilling, it disturbs the habitats around it. And then species, invasive species are really detrimental there. Like the Canadian geese is the worst one. And they just overpopulate and take up the limited resources that there are. And solutions for global warming is that we minimize like the amount of pollution we produce. And then they're creating a lot of nature parks and reserves there to prevent people from going in certain areas of the tundra so that they don't disturb those ecosystems. And then for species, they basically just try to control and maintain the invasive species as much as they can.